Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Bold Predictions here at Inside Nebraska. He's Steve Marik, he's Geoff Exstrom, and I'm Zack Carpenter, and we're coming to you today without Greg Smith because I think last week he bolted himself out with the offensive line is not going to get any penalties called on it. So Greg, shout out when you watch this. Offensive line actually hasn't been the issue for Nebraska. The issue has been turnovers in their two losses. 8 turnovers is the most in the country right now, and so is the minus 6 turnover margin in the nation as they welcome in Northern Illinois for the Matt Rule home opener at Nebraska. And Nebraska right now is a 10.5-point favorite with an over-under of 42.5. So expecting a Nebraska technically comfortable win, I guess, somewhat comfortable win in a low-scoring game, but a lot of things to play out. Jeff Sims is still, I think, questionable would be the best way to put it, with an ankle injury. We're not 100% certain who's going to be the starting quarterback after his struggles last week. Matt Rule said he's still the starter, but remains to be seen on Jeff Sims. So with that, Steve, I'll open it up for your first bold prediction. What do you see happening here in NIU, Nebraska?
Yeah, so my first bold prediction is Tony White's defense is going to hold Northern Illinois' offense led by seventh-year quarterback Rocky Lombardi to under 250 total yards. And now if you go back through NIU's stats over the years, they haven't been held to under 250 total yards since September of 2021 when they went to Michigan and got their doors blown off 63-10. Now, I think we know Nebraska's not going to score 63 points on Saturday, but I think the defense is going to show up just like they did in the first 2 weeks of the season here and hold just what I think is kind of like a uneven, poor performing Northern Illinois offense led by Rocky Lombardi, who hasn't really shown good things through 2 games. In my opinion, he hasn't looked like a quarterback who's spent 7 years in college. I think Nebraska's defense is going to hold NIU's offense to under 250 total yards.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, I'll go along. I won't go along with that, but I want to focus on turnovers for a second. Jeff Sims obviously does turnover a lot with fumbles, and I think Northern Illinois is going to take advantage of that. And this is, of course, if Jeff Sims plays. But I think Northern Illinois gets a scoop and score. If you go back to 2017, Northern Illinois took a 14-0 lead in the first quarter with 2 pick sixes, including an 87-yarder. So I think Northern Illinois, they have a knack for it. And I think they're going to continue that trend in Memorial Stadium. And I'm specifically saying Jeff Sims fumble because, as he's shown over the past 2 games, he has trouble with that. So I think Northern Illinois takes advantage of that aspect and gets a scoop and score to get them on the board.
Shout out Tanner Lee.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of Nebraska fans watching this, really happy to bring up the old stings of the past. But with Jeff Sims, if he does play, I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure. I know it's against Northern Illinois, but your home opener after you've you're responsible for 6 turnovers officially in the stat book, but probably 7, I think, is the general consensus after the fumble exchange between him and Gabe Ervin. So, I mean, if he comes out and if he plays and he doesn't play well the first drive or 2, if he turns it over the first drive or 2, there's going to be some murmurs in that stadium. And if he doesn't play well, he will get replaced. I don't think there's any doubt about it at this point that if he has another turnover, maybe you have to have 2 turnovers. I don't know. I'm just throwing out an arbitrary number right now, but I mean, Matt Rule said on Monday, Jeff's our quarterback, but he's got to take care of the ball. It's pretty simple, and whether he does or not, I mean, remains to be seen. I don't know. I don't think many people have too much confidence right now that he will be able to take care of the ball. But I am going the other way for my bold prediction with the turnover conversation. And Rocky Lombardi, as Steve mentioned, has not looked good. He's 7th-year quarterback, which is something. And he had his overall touchdown to interception ratio. I was looking at this earlier at 3 years of Michigan State when he played. He was there for 4 years, and then now 3 years at NIU. He was hurt last year, but his overall touchdown to interception ratio is 32-26. across 6 years of playing. And he just threw 3 picks against Southern Illinois, which I came from an FCS school. Okay. I went to Illinois State. We played some FCS ball back then. SIU is an FCS team. No disrespect, just calling it like it is. You cannot lose to an FCS team and have me predicting good things to happen for you the next week. I mean, last year, Nebraska almost lost to an FCS team in North Dakota. And then the next week they came out and got punched in the mouth by Georgia Southern, and they wound up losing that game. And then the end of the Scott Frost era came soon after. Last week, and Southern Illinois is a solid FCS team, but again, here I am analyzing the FCS team as we're talking about this matchup, and he threw 3 interceptions against SIU, and it's not like he's known for taking care of the ball necessarily. So we heard this week about the turnover margin again. We heard the defense on Tuesday talk about how they're focused on takeaways, because right now they only have 2. One was a fumble in garbage time against Colorado, and then the other was the Omar Brown interception against Minnesota. That was crucial. It was a game-turning play. My bold prediction is that Nebraska is going to come up with 3 or more, but I'm going with 3 takeaways in this game, whether it's an interception, 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions, just a combination of 3 takeaways for this defense. And I'm not gonna say that they're gonna take one back and house it for 6, a pick 6 or a scoop and score. But honestly, maybe that would be exactly what the doctor ordered. I mean, I know Nebraska fans are going to hate to say it or hear it, but with this defense as dominant as it has been, with as real as it looks so far, I mean, I could be looking at a situation like Iowa last year where the defense has to carry the offense and has to score a couple times, or at least get one of those takeaways deep in the opponent territory to set up the offense with a much shorter field, like Isaac Gifford said yesterday. So there we go. I predicted the Quentin Newsome interception, first career interception last week, and almost got it with that one-on-one ball in the end zone. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. But we'll see.
Yeah. So, NIU, I think since 2010, they've knocked off 8 Power 5 teams since 2010. So they're a good program. I mean, I don't think they have a lot of respect around here, but they should. People overlook them just because they're a small school, but it's whatever. I don't exactly agree with it. I think this is a huge game, actually, for Matt Rule, especially. He needs to show improvement here against a team perceived worse than his own team coming into his own house. I just think that overlooking NIU is going to be a mistake. And I know the team's not doing that. The coaches wouldn't let them do it. The veterans on this team wouldn't let the younger guys overlook a MAC school coming in here. But again, you can't deny what this team NIU did last year. They had a SEC game swing. They went to Vanderbilt, were leading them at halftime before losing. They went to Kentucky the next week, put a scare into the Wildcats and Mark Stoops. This is a real program. They've been playing real football for a very long time. And I just think that they're going to hang with Nebraska. They're going to make life difficult on the run game, because they sure as hell don't respect the pass game of the Huskers. They don't respect the receivers that the Huskers have. They're going to load the box. They're going to try to stack the defensive line. They're going to try to shoot gaps, get in the backfield, get the ball before Gabe Ervin does on those handoffs. And they're going to try to just play the long game and win this thing in 4 quarters. I think Nebraska's going to win, but I think it's going to be ugly, and I don't think it's going to make anybody else around here feel better. I think the Huskers get out of here with a 24-14 win. But again, I think it's going to be a win, so it's going to be good for Matt Rule and everything, and he's going to view it as progress. But to everybody else around here, I don't think it's going to be a very pleasing to the eye win. I think this is going to be an ugly game, and I think Northern Illinois is going to show up and just do what Northern Illinois does and make life difficult on big Power 5 teams that invite them over, pay them to come play the game, and sometimes they take the paycheck and go home. So 24-14 Nebraska. I think this is a big game for Matt Rule in Nebraska.
Yeah, Steve, I'm on a similar sentiment. This game it's going to be ugly. I have it just 6 points above yours, so it's 27-17 at Nebraska. But I mean, this is not going to be pretty. I'll go back to the Matt Rule press conference earlier this week. If you read between the lines, I think Rule was saying, "Hey, I knew this was bad, but I didn't realize this was this bad." And so I think that's going to be reflected on the field this year. And I think Northern Illinois, Steve, like you mentioned, they're going to hit the gaps. They're going to make this game ugly because that's how they're going to win this. And I think that's what's going to happen. I still think Nebraska wins, one, because I think they're going to emphasize the running game, because with these group of 5 schools, you need to expose the depth, especially on the defensive line. So you need to run at them really efficiently and just keep attacking them wave after wave. And again, that's an aspect that Matt Rule wants in this Nebraska team. So I think they're going to emphasize that. And so I think they come away with the win, but it's just going to be kind of okay, we won it. Let's just move on. It's not going to be pretty. Book me for a win, but I think Northern Illinois covers the 10.5 point spread.
Yeah, I see it playing out similarly as you guys with sort of an ugly game. And Nebraska, I think, like you said, Geoff, it's going to be a strong emphasis on the run game on offense. And on defense, though, I think the NIU offense, I'll tack that first, is ranked 93rd in the country in total offense and yards per game with 266. And Nebraska, though, is 116th in the country in total offense, 349 yards per game for NIU's offense. And I was looking at the defensive numbers for NIU, which they're ranked 28th in the country right now in total defense at 266.5 yards allowed per game, 27th in the country, excuse me. And Nebraska's 72nd in total defense. So, but I also look at the opponents that they've played. NIU played Boston College, bad team. SIU, again, much respect, FCS, but an FCS school. And I do think that they have a defense that's going to be able to to reiterate on the points that you guys were saying, a defense that's going to be able to sort of hang with Nebraska and make it tough and muck the game up, muddy it up a little bit. But and Nebraska's going to do it on the other side. And if they can get one or two of those turnovers, those takeaways, like I was saying, first off, I think NIU is going to have a tough time moving the ball down the field against this defense that stopped Minnesota from getting it deep into their own territory, except for the game winning drive or game tying drive in the fourth quarter. And Colorado, the first half, really all the way up until probably their first touchdown drive of the second half, Colorado had a tough time. They move the ball, but then Nebraska's defense has that bend, don't break, and they wind up stopping them near midfield or a little past midfield is as deep as Colorado really got until that second drive of the third quarter. And if you can do that against Colorado, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, the athletes they have, that's what I would anticipate happening against Rocky Lombardi and Northern Illinois as well, which is going to attack you in a different way with more of an emphasis on the run game. But I just see it playing out with Nebraska's offense being able to do enough, and its defense again showing us that it's real, and NIU's defense showing up to play and muddying it up. And I think we're heading for another low scoring as far as the total. Like I said, 42.5 is the line right now, and I have it Nebraska 27, NIU 6, which would be a fairly easy cover, but a heavy under for this game. And I keep thinking about red zone defense. If NIU does get it down toward inside the 30, inside the 20, that Nebraska's defense is going to stand tall, and NIU's going to have a tough time moving the ball against the defense. So that offense is always the question. I feel like I focus so much on the defense because we kind of don't know the success that this offense is going to have, whether Jeff Sims is in there or not. But any final thoughts, Steve or Jeff, before we get out of here?
Rocky Lombardi still has the bleached mullet that we saw for years and years at Michigan State. So, I mean, that's my one thought on him. And I guess his propensity for turnovers, like you mentioned, Zach, he threw 3 against Southern Illinois. Against Boston College, he was trying to scramble and leave the pocket, and he was holding it like out here. It got slapped out of his hand, and Boston College recovered it. So I don't know. The quarterbacks in this game it's not really like the
That's not the
Showtime.
storyline.
No, it's not. It's not like it should not be on like ABC primetime TV at all. It should be like tucked away in a basement and with all of us Husker fans and NIU fans watching this game. I think it's going to be really ugly, but you know, probably a win for the Huskers. So it's good to get Matt Rule a win under his belt finally.
Yeah, they should stash this one away. Do you guys remember the Versus Network back in the day? Some of these Big 12 games get on there, the Versus Network. That's where this one should be on. But I'll point out a statistic. Nebraska is allowing 51.4% on third down conversions, which is, I think, over 100 in the country. And Northern Illinois is 22nd best in third down conversions at over 50%. So is that an aspect that Northern Illinois can exploit? I guess we'll see. But that's something to keep an eye on, that I certainly will keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, a lot of more intriguing storylines than you would think, I think, coming into this game. But, I mean, the Minnesota game, the game script looked like it was pretty clear of what was going to happen. That happened. Game script for Colorado for a potential Nebraska win, that happened up until right after Jeff Sims' big touchdown, and then the floodgates sort of opened. So we'll see if it goes similarly that we think it's going to go here with an ugly, slow game on Saturday again, 6:00 FS1, Nebraska, Northern Illinois for the Matt Rule home opener. So for Steve Marik, Geoff Exstrom, I'm Zack Carpenter, and we'll catch you guys again next time.